Christine Brennan reveals the critical importance of CaitlinClark for the WNBA during her candid conversation on the Rich Eisen Show, where she didn't hold back in criticizing the league's handling of this extraordinary talent. Brennan shared that Clark cooperated extensively for her book, answering 40 to 50 questions with openness and depth, proving to be even better in person than anyone might expect. The timing of the book's conception was interesting, sparked shortly after Clark's controversial omission from the Olympic team, a snub Brennan calls abysmal and has explored with breaking new insights in her book. The story of CaitlinClark is not just about a basketball player. It's a story of cultural shift, media attention, and how a league unprepared for her arrival bungled the chance to capitalize on her appeal. Brennan, a veteran USA Today columnist who has dedicated over 40 years to advocating for women's sports, especially basketball, shared that she was once mocked for championing women's basketball coverage, with critics calling it below the rim, a joke on its perceived quality and entertainment value. Yet, those very critics have since become the most devoted fans of Clark, proudly sporting her jersey and elevating WNBA viewership to unprecedented levels. This turnaround marks an astonishing cultural transformation led by Clark's electrifying playing style and charisma. What Brennan lays out is a tale of missed opportunities and league mismanagement, highlighting that while Clark has been a game-changer, the WNBA leadership appeared anxious and uncertain about how to handle the resulting surge in popularity. Brennan's revelation that the Indiana Fever's average home attendance during Clark's first season surpassed that of 5 NBA teams is staggering, a testament to Clark's drawing power and an eye-opener to how the league underestimated her impact. The league's inability to embrace this golden opportunity was made even clearer when Brennan recounted conversations with WNBA officials whose reactions were not of excitement but worry. This reaction seemed counterintuitive given the league's decades-long struggle for financial viability and relevance. The arrival of a player like Clark, who could elevate the league's fortunes, should have been met with celebration. Yet instead it felt like the league was fearful of change. Clark herself embodies resilience and toughness. Brennan described how Clark doesn't shy away from physical play or tough competition, often revving up the crowd and thriving under pressure. However, injuries inflicted by aggressive plays, such as the hit from Marina Mabrey that appeared to shake Clark, have had dramatic consequences for the league. When Clark was sidelined for 5 games due to injury, WNBA viewership plummeted by more than half during that period, revealing just how critical she is to the league's financial and media success. This kind of immediate and steep drop-off is unheard of even among legendary athletes in other sports, such as Tiger Woods or Michael Jordan, whose absences caused only slight dips in viewership. Brennan's comparison of Clark's influence to Tiger Woods' effect on golf is especially telling. Woods entered a sport that already had a deep history, established stars, and commercial success, whereas the WNBA has fought for decades to find its footing in the male-dominated sports world. Clark is not simply enhancing an existing structure. She is building something new, bringing mainstream attention to a league that has long been marginalized. Unfortunately, the league's leadership failed to recognize this and instead often treated Clark's popularity as a problem to manage, rather than an asset to celebrate and promote. Adding another layer to this complex story are the racial and cultural dynamics Brennan explores. Clark, a white straight athlete entering a league that is 74% black and has a significant LGBTQ+ presence, faced a chilly reception that hinted at underlying tensions. Veteran players sometimes dismissed her impact, and some current players took cheap shots on the court, suggesting she needed to pay her dues before being fully accepted. While such treatment might be typical for a rookie, it's hard to reconcile with the fact that Clark's presence doubled TV ratings and transformed the league's profile. The racial and cultural dynamics at play only magnify the WNBA's unpreparedness to handle the explosive growth Clark brought with her. One of the most glaring examples of the league's disconnect is Clark's exclusion from the Olympic team, a decision Brennan condemns extensively in her book. How could the player generating unprecedented excitement and attention be snubbed from the highest international stage. Brennan's ongoing investigation into this decision exposes a leadership out of touch with the sport's new realities and a failure to harness Clark's unique value. Clark's popularity is rooted in her distinctive style, collegiate success, and ability to connect with fans. Rather than building marketing campaigns around these strengths, the WNBA seemed to resist the attention, treating it as something to be controlled rather than celebrated. Brennan likens this to receiving a winning lottery ticket but complaining about having to cash it. Her comparisons to other transformative athletes are illuminating. Clark is bringing to women's basketball what was brought to golf, but without the benefit of a pre-existing commercial foundation. She's creating mainstream relevance where none existed before. The media coverage shift is particularly remarkable. Men who once scoffed at women's basketball are now some of its most avid followers, a change that signals a deeper cultural shift. But instead of leveraging this newfound attention, the WNBA leadership has often responded defensively, sometimes even hostilely, toward legitimate media scrutiny. Brennan recounts the controversy involving DJI Carrington, where her journalistic questions about a potentially intentional hit on Clark led the WNBA Players Association to demand revoking her media credentials. This reaction underscores a fundamental misunderstanding of professional sports journalism, where tough questions are part of the territory. Attempting to silence a veteran advocate like Brennan demonstrates how ill-equipped the league is to handle big league scrutiny. The business implications of mishandling Clark's emergence are vast. Sponsorships, television deals, merchandise sales, and ticket revenue have all surged thanks to Clark's star power. Yet, this growth remains fragile, heavily dependent on Clark's health and continued engagement. Every injury, controversy, or sign of underappreciation threatens to undo years of progress. Brennan's emphasis on Clark as more than just a basketball player highlights her role as a cultural phenomenon. Fans wearing her jersey at grocery stores show a reach far beyond traditional sports audiences, a rare crossover appeal that few professional athletes achieve. The WNBA's failure to capitalize on this once-in-a-generation opportunity is a stark warning about the consequences of mismanagement and internal politics. The financial stakes are enormous, especially considering the WNBA's historical financial struggles. Here is a league that has rarely turned a profit, suddenly blessed with a player whose presence guarantees sellouts and premium TV ratings. This is the kind of transformation that every sports league dreams of, yet the WNBA's leadership seem to want the benefits without acknowledging the hard work and personality behind them. The comparison to international women's leagues further emphasizes the missed chance. Many leagues worldwide would covet a player like Clark to elevate their sport. The WNBA's failure to fully embrace her indicates a leadership crisis. Commissioner Kathy Engelbert comes under sharp criticism in Brennan's book. Brennan notes Engelbert's reluctance to engage directly on Clark, often deflecting questions and showing a lack of clarity about how to handle the league's most valuable asset. This avoidance reflects poorly on the league's ability to build around Clark as the cornerstone of its future. The ongoing collective bargaining agreement, CBA, negotiations add urgency to this situation. While players push for higher salaries and better working conditions, a valid pursuit, they do so while undercutting the player who has brought unprecedented revenue growth to the league. It's akin to employees demanding raises while disparaging their best salesperson. Through it all, Clark's professionalism shines. Despite the cheap shots, Olympic snub, and controversies, she remains focused, performing at an elite level and serving as an exemplary ambassador for women's basketball. Former teammates describe her as someone who never speaks ill of others and never makes excuses, qualities that only add to her appeal and impact. Meanwhile, the league's failure to support her risks not just alienating its brightest star, but losing the momentum it has worked decades to build. Clark's career will not last forever, and the window for capitalizing on her popularity is limited. If the WNBA continues to treat Clark as a problem to be managed rather than an asset to be celebrated. The league risks losing everything she has helped create. Brennan's book and media appearances serve as a crucial wake-up call for anyone invested in the future of women's basketball. The WNBA has been handed a rare key to mainstream relevance, but must learn to drive before that opportunity slips away. Her critique exposes the league's leadership failures and missteps, making it essential reading for those seeking to understand the current state and future potential of the sport. The numbers and facts Brennan shares don't lie, and neither does her passion for the game or her belief in CaitlinClark's transformative power. The WNBA's fate may well depend on whether it can finally learn from this moment and embrace the star who has already changed everything.